This podcast is brought to you by New Life Ministries.
Welcome to the Every Man's Battle podcast. I'm your host, JJ West. On this podcast, you will hear honest conversation and encouragement for living a life of sexual integrity. Let's get to today's episode. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Every Man's Battle podcast. We're so glad that you're listening. I am JJ West, co-host of the podcast. I am also a licensed marriage and family therapist, work in private practice with clients struggling with sexual integrity issues, whether it's on an individual basis or working with couples or families. And I get to serve as one of the presenters for the Every Man's Battle Intensive. And we're so glad that you're listening. And I'm joined by
Doug Barnes. I'm a licensed professional counselor, have been for about 29 years. My practice is couples and men struggling with sexual integrity issues. I work with the Every Man's Battle Intensive. I've been a group facilitator for the last 19 years. I've led the workshop a few times. I run the aftercare groups. Recovery is really a lot about my life, and so I'm really excited about doing these, continuing on with season 2 and just getting deeper into how we can serve those that we're in front of.
Absolutely. And as you may remember, if you are a longtime listener of the podcast and you listen to season 1, you know that not only is this our professional practice, it's also our personal stories.
It's life. It's life.
We have walked this road many, many times. And so we're glad that we get to walk with a wider audience, and we're also so humbled that God takes our stories of brokenness, our stories of struggle and hardship and pain, the pain that we've caused, but He, in His great economy, is turning it into something useful for building others up, for helping others find freedom. So we're glad that you're with us. We're glad that you're along for the journey. Today, we are going to be talking about telling your parents or your friends about your story. And boy, what a heavy topic, a heavy concept, and because it's so hard. Yeah. It's so difficult. I mean, we live in isolation and so often in shame. And it's really, really difficult to tell our story. And in fact, it's the very thing that when we're in our addiction, we believe that it is the worst possible outcome if somebody found out.
Oh my gosh.
Right? I mean, to me, this harkens back to, we did a couple episodes in season 1, one where we did Doug's story, and that aired, I think, on February 5th of 2024. And then we did an episode later in the season, sharing with others, and I think that was June 24th of 2024. So this theme has been introduced in other episodes, but we wanted to unpack it more fully here. But that idea, right, that, man, we fully believe that the worst thing possible would be to be found out,
right? Would
be for our secrets to come to light, for us to be known. And it turned out that was the absolute best thing that could possibly have happened, and the only way that we would ever experience freedom, that we would ever experience victory.
Right. And we know that there are people out there right now, there are guys out there right now who just had a minor heart attack.
right.
Hearing those words. Their anxiety level jumped, going, whoa, no. No.
This is just about me and Jesus, right?
Right. I'm going to take this to my grave.
Yes.
I'm not sharing this with anyone. There's no way. If I say anything about this, my life is over. I'm getting a divorce. She's breaking up with me. I'm going to jail.
I can't go back to work. I can't go back to church. I can't look my neighbors in the eye. Right? There's just over and over and over again. If this gets out, I can't show my face again.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so the question becomes not if I should. Because that one,
I've already said no.
If left to its own, right? It's like, no way. There's no way on God's green earth I'm going to do that. And so this episode is really taking a little bit of that and really kind of unpacking, okay, let's talk about how to do it in a way that is dignified and a way that I can reach out to get the help that I really deep down. Okay, let's be honest. When we're acting out or acting in or medicating, we deep down, there's something inside of us that's really saying, I hate this. I don't want to do this anymore. I've been doing this for X number of days, weeks, months, or years, and I want to get out of this. Yet I'm confronted with that, wait, I got to tell somebody kind of thing. And that's where the true freedom is. And we have to say that because that's the answer. Connection. Connection is the answer. It's not isolation.
Absolutely.
Isolation is what kept this going and what keeps it going. So,
let me jump in there for a second, because before we even go to the how, which is important, we need to go to the how. We got to start with the why. Right? Because you said we're not even asking if, because I've already decided, no, I don't want to do that.
Right.
But I think it's because we haven't presented enough of the why. Why should we tell others? Why is connection so important, right? And, I start with one of the things that we talk about at the intensive all the time. I cannot fully accept acceptance if I'm not fully known. If I still have a mask on, if I still have stuff that I've hidden from you, and you offer me any kind of acceptance or love, in the back of my mind, and sometimes not even that far back, it might be mid-mind, somewhere in my mind I hear, yes, but if you knew the truth about me, would you feel that? Would you accept me? Would you love me? Would you want me? Would you still be in relationship with me? Right? And so because I have that question, because I'm still saying, no, if you knew the truth, you wouldn't, then I can't accept your acceptance of me. I can't enjoy your love of me because I believe you love a glossed over, masked version of me, not the real thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And why would you love me? Why would you go that far? If I don't love me, how am I going to let anyone else love me?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what keeps us from breaking that mask, from breaking through that?
Yeah.
And sometimes we've made vows.
Yeah.
I'm not going to share this with anyone. This is so painful for me. This is so shameful. I have done illegal acts, or I have been caught in, a sting, or I have defamed my family's name, or I have gone to such great lengths that I am not going to do that.
Yeah.
And sometimes if we address our families of origin, sometimes that goes back a long way in decades. And so that's deeply ingrained into our DNA, into our attachments. And so I've already made a vow, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Well, that's why it may be hard for two guys sitting here telling you that, hey, the way out is connection. It's sharing that story with healthy, trusted men. And we'll get to that here in just a minute. So let's talk about some of the barriers to my sharing. Okay, so if I've made vows, if I've made agreements that, well, if they really knew me, then I would be ultimately embarrassed. I would be kicked out of the club. I would be put in prison. I don't know. I mean, whatever it could be. What am I really facing here? Well, shame is probably the biggest for most of it.
Yeah.
Takes one to know one, right?
Yeah.
For me, shame was the biggest.
Yeah.
If you only knew.
Yeah. Shame. And then I would say a close second for me is that fear of rejection. I don't want to feel that pain. Oh, you don't love me. You finally saw the truth about me, and you hate me as much or more than I hate me, and it's so painful, and so I don't want to encounter that. So I'm just gonna keep putting on the mask.
I call that reaffirming what I already knew to be true about me.
Right.
You're just confirming that one more time, one more conversation, more, and ultimately it's a lie. Okay, so let's just get that on the table. It's ultimately a lie.
Yeah.
But over the course of my life, I've believed it to be true. And that's part of why sharing this is so important. I didn't say it was easy,
Right.
but sharing it is ultimately important. And so what is the fear in that? There's a fear of me being known.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because of that mask. I've worked all of my life, that's dramatic. I've worked a lot of my life building that mask and painting a picture that this is the Doug that you're going to see. And I do that because, like you said, rejection, abandonment, guilt, my actual behaviors, they may be heinous, they may be illegal, they may be, repeated in such a way that I'm stuck in this repetition of whatever it looks like. And if I stop that, I don't know who I am.
Yeah. Or they may be highly revealing of my hypocrisy. Maybe I'm in some leadership role. Maybe I'm a pastor or a youth pastor. Maybe I'm a small group leader at my church. I'm a quote unquote man of God, and then this gets out, and how deeply embarrassing that would be, that I'm such a hypocrite, right?
Or maybe I'm a recovery group leader. How can I show my face if I become one of you? When it's like, it's the club. Come on.
Right. You were already a card-carrying member, before we started this.
Right. And sometimes our families have expectations on us that, whether real or not, there are some expectations sometimes. I call it unrealized expectationism. It's a new phrase, right?
Okay, yeah, I like it.
But it's if my older brother and my dad and my grandfather, they're all decorated heroes in war or in battle. And here I am, I'm coming in and I'm trying to admit, hey, I had 4 affairs on my spouse. How is that going to go down?
Right.
I'm not a decorated war hero, and oh, by the way, I've blown up my family.
Right. I didn't go to that battle. In the battle that I was in, I blew it. I've got my rear end kicked in.
Right.
Yeah.
And so if I come from a family of, and this is just a silly example of expectations of me doing what my grandfather did, who did what my dad and then my brother. Well, if I'm into following those footsteps and I didn't, how's that going to look?
Yeah.
How's that going to look to the rest of the family, the aunts and uncles and all the other branches of the family tree? How are they going to react to that?
Yeah, or to take it a step further, not just how is it going to look to the family, but there may be a family rule around how do we as a family look to the outside world. And if I'm truthful about this, I've now smeared the family name to the community. Right.
Yeah. And so inside of me, I'm saying, I let them down.
Yeah.
How can I let my family down?
Right.
How can I show my face around holidays and birthdays and important dates of family things, family functions, if I've let the family down?
Yeah.
Much less, probably, just guessing, the pressure from now the parental units and the grandparental units who are now pointing their finger at me and saying, yeah, this is your fault.
Yeah.
So those are now whether they're lies or not, that's some of those things I'm facing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe there's this family rule of nobody's going to know our business.
Right.
So yeah, you ruined our family, but nobody's going to know. Because you're going to go out with a smile on your face, and you're going to go to work tomorrow just like you did yesterday, and you are going to win clients over and make all those monies and whatever, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's not that easy.
Yeah.
Because inside of me, I still feel like a broken little kid who can't get it right, and if I do get it right, no one's going to know, because then they would know something was wrong, and no one's ever going to know it's wrong. So sometimes we make vows saying, I'm not going to ever tell anyone, and they're not going to know. Other times there's some family rules and expectations that fall into play there.
New Life Ministries saved my completely broken marriage.
No matter how much hurt you've had to face, no marriage is beyond hope. At New Life Ministries Intimacy and Marriage Weekend, licensed counselors will help you rebuild communication skills and renew your commitment to each other. You don't have to settle for a miserable marriage or even one that's just okay. It's possible to experience a new level of intimacy and have a great marriage. To register or to find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or online at newlife.com.
What about as a husband? What about going to my spouse's parents?
Right, which often does happen. It often is maybe even a requirement, right? You and I have had many couples in our offices where the wife says,
"You're going to tell my parents.
You're going to tell my parents what you did," right?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And the shame of that, or just the feeling walking into that I just to say the words, how I've hurt your daughter, your little girl, the one on our wedding day I vowed to love, honor, and cherish, and to protect.
Yes.
And the fact that now I'm coming to you saying, yeah, I didn't really mean that.
Right. Not only did I not do those things, I actually did things to harm her.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's a real valid concern. And for some of us, it's, and I hate to say this, but there could be some physical violence in there.
Sure.
Dad coming at me because he's so upset.
Yeah. Right.
Not because of who I am, but because of what I've done. It's you've hurt.
Right.
You told me you would take care of her, and you didn't.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And so that's a common concern.
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And maybe one more, just from a spiritual perspective. I'm not going to share this because if I do, and this pertains more maybe to pastors or youth leaders or worship leaders or those in churches, I've ruined my witness.
Yeah. Yeah.
How can people believe me if they find out that I've had an affair or that I got caught in a sting or that I've been going to massage parlors or to strip joints or I've been acting out with the church secretary. I don't know. I'll just pick something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which again is not uncommon.
No. I mean, the headlines are replete with, religious leader after religious leader falling in sexual sin, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it coming to light. And then the thought that there's no hope for me.
Yeah.
I'm broken.
Yeah. Yep.
And so some of those things really keep us from reaching out. So what? Let's those are internal. So let's change this now to a different view of external. What is it that I fear really happening, or what do I want to happen, knowing that I may not get it, but these are some of the things I might want out of this process.
Yeah.
Coming and sharing that. Well, I guess deep down, I want to be accepted.
Absolutely.
I want someone to just understand, right? Our friend Laura talks about to be seen and to be heard. I just want to be seen and heard that I did this and I want to repent. I want to confess. I want to get this shame off of me.
Yeah.
We had a speaker years and years and years ago who talked about sin as pouring cooking oil over your skin, and it's like no matter how you try to wipe that stuff off, there's a film that just stays on you.
Yeah.
And it's like it's that greasy film that after I share this with you, it's just going to leave this grimy, slimy thing on me that I can't scrub off.
Yeah.
And so if that's how it's going to look, am I really going to...
Right. But to your point, our longing is that we want to be washed. We want to experience that level of cleansing, of being made new. And the truth is, when we're living in our secrets, we can't get there. Right. Yeah.
That cliche, you're only as sick as your secrets. Well, I don't want to be sick.
Right.
But if I want, I don't want to be known either. So I'm in a quandary. I'm in a dilemma. And again, you and I are sitting here saying to all of these people, hey, there's freedom in the connection. There's freedom in the sharing the story.
Yeah.
But we need to find those folks that can honor that sharing.
Yeah.
Because again, deep down, I want to be heard.
Yeah.
But something inside of me is keeping me from doing that.
And unfortunately, there's no shortcut either, right? I mean, how many times, I know I've had it many times, you've had it in your office as well, the guy that comes in and we talk about the need to confess, to do disclosure, to take off the mask, to be real. That's where that's the pathway to freedom. And their response is, yeah, I'm not doing that. So what's my other option, right? What else can I do to be whole, to be healed, to be saved, to be whatever?
Right.
And we go, well, I don't know what other option there is. This is the only option I'm aware of, right? But it's a hard path, but there isn't a shortcut to this. Right. You can't be known without being known.
James 5:16. Confess your sin one to another. Why? So that you may be healed.
Yes. Exactly.
I mean, we didn't make that up.
That's right. That's God's plan. That's God's idea. It's His path, right? Yeah.
And so what it takes is digging deep to find some humility and to get into what we call rigorous honesty.
Yeah.
Not just honesty.
Right.
Hey, I did that. Yeah. But where's our heart? Is my heart really in this? Am I doing it to check the box, which we'll talk about in later episodes? Am I checking this box because two guys on this video or this podcast are telling me that? Or am I doing it because I want to be free?
Right.
I really want to drop this heavy load.
Right.
Steve Arterburn said at one point, you never know how heavy your bags are till you set them down.
Yeah.
And so when we drop that, then that film of sin becomes a little bit easier to scrub off.
Yeah.
Right? But it's only through being rigorously honest and with humility, because we have to be contrite.
Right.
But it comes from my heart.
Yeah.
It's not my words.
Big difference between, well, hey, I did all these things, you got to get over it, versus here's what I've done. I'm brokenhearted for having done these things.
For your broken heart, yes.
Yeah, I'm brokenhearted for your broken heart, right? As opposed to, well, I confessed it, so we're moving on now, right?
Right. And as you stated before, who really knows me? Who? Well, nobody. Okay, that's the starting point then.
All right.
I need to find someone, some godly man, whether that's a coach, counselor, mentor, pastor, whatever. I need to find someone who won't shame me, won't judge me, who will just hear me.
Yeah.
Because that little kid inside of me is still skeptical and saying, well, if you only knew.
Yeah.
But he's really sitting there also saying, I want to get this off of me.
Yeah, without a doubt. And the thing is, I mean, you talked about James 5:16. We have John 1:9 as well, right? If we confess our sins, He's faithful and just will forgive us our sins, cleanse us from all unrighteousness, right? But there's even more in Proverbs 28:13. Says, whoever conceals his transgression will not prosper, but he who confesses and forsakes them will obtain mercy. So there is a hindrance. I'm limiting my growth, my prosperity, my outcomes. I'm limiting those things when I refuse to confess, when I refuse to tell the truth about me.
Interesting word you use.
Yeah.
Refuse.
Yeah.
That just struck me. So when I refuse, how many of us? I mean, we have agency, right? I can choose or I can refuse.
Yes.
And so there may be times that I really want to, and there may be times when I'm like, there's no way.
Right.
But to have that openness. Because this takes vulnerability.
Yeah.
That dreaded word we hate to hear. Vulnerability and humility of the impact of my behaviors has had horrible detrimental effects on those around me. You know, we've already talked about that the sin leaves so much destruction in its wake. And so the impact of our behaviors has hurt so many people. Okay, the turnaround starts when I open my mouth with my contrite heart and say, I need to let you guys know this is the real me.
Yeah.
This is the real me, and put my heart into it, that my heart is broken here, and I really want to change the way I live my life.
Yeah. And it really is that choosing or refusing. In other words, yes, I have agency. It's not something that happens to me. I don't get zapped by God and then I have to confess it. I have no other choice, right?
Right.
It is I'm either choosing to be known, confess, or I'm refusing that and I'm choosing to hide, to be unknown, which means I'm going to choose a path where I don't experience love and I don't experience connection.
And that perpetuates that part of me that says, I'm broken, I'm not repairable, I'm not fixable, I'm inadequate, I'm a loser, all of those things. And it just perpetuates that cycle.
And then it perpetuates the acting out behavior, which reinforces what I feel about me, which reinforces what I do, which is act out, which reinforces, right? And on and on and on and on.
Right.
Rinse and repeat.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do we do it? First thing, we get on our knees.
Yes.
We pray.
Yeah.
God, help me. Show me who I can talk to. Show me the way that says I am valuable to you, because we all are, whether we believe it or not. This is not a word of truth or not truth. This is this is truth. We are valuable. Yeah. And asking God, show me one man.
Yes.
2 Samuel 23 talks about David's mighty men, right? Those men that were so devoted to him. And so we need to be looking out for those guys. Yeah. Those guys that we can trust beyond the shadow of a doubt.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So getting on our knees first. Second thing is getting good godly counsel. Not like Job. Right. I don't need the Three Stooges telling me their opinion about what I've done and making excuses for me and making everything okay, minimizing it. I don't need, I can do that inside of me.
Right.
I don't need that. I need men who say, you know what you did was really jacked up and I love you and I'm here to listen to you.
That's right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I can show you a path to freedom as well.
Which leads to accountability, which is the next one.
Yeah.
Right. I need men in my life that I put myself into that place with them. I give them that authority over me. Not in a power position,
right?
But
I'm submitting to that authority.
Right. I submit to them something greater than myself. 12 steps. Step 2 talks about something greater than myself can restore me to sanity. Well, hello. Yeah. This is a biblical concept. Yeah. Submitting to someone and something greater than myself.
Absolutely.
And then the last thing on that I put in there was just the act of vulnerability. Can I get to a place to where I'm totally and 100% rigorously honest with myself so that I can be rigorously honest with you?
Yeah. Agreed. And it brings up for me, and maybe we'll wrap it up here. It highlights for me, okay, so how do I know who that person is, right? You were saying, okay, pray, ask God to reveal that one person that you could go to. But what should I look for? How do I know, right? So I think about you want it to be someone who's trustworthy, right? Someone who's has a proven track record that they don't go blabbing, telling secrets that they don't have permission to share. And I would also add someone who's proven that they're for you and for your good, right? Like you know them to be that mighty man who would, break through enemy lines to get me a cup of water, right? Like that kind of person, right? I want to look for someone who's trustworthy. I want to look for someone who's for me and for my good. And then this is kind of a bonus. This may or may not be true, but it's a good indication if it is true. If there are people in your life who have already taken that risk and shared,
I was just going to say that,
have shared some of their struggle with you, it may not be the same struggle, it may be a different struggle, but have at some point said, hey, here's the ways that I've been broken in my life or am broken in my life, man, that's a really good indication. If they're willing to be vulnerable with me, they can handle me being vulnerable with them, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It can be a game changer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm not practiced and versed at being vulnerable.
Right.
I'm practiced and versed at isolating from
Right.
everybody
Right.
and avoiding and putting, the great walls around me that I don't have to be that way. So I was just going to bring that up. I'm glad you brought that up. At our intensive, we say the phrase wounds are created in the context of community.
Yes, they are.
And wounds are also healed in the context of community. That's
exactly
why we need to reach out. If we are really serious about recovery, if we really want something more than just stopping the behavior, because that's where true healing begins. When I stop my behavior, that's the beginning.
Right.
And then now I'm addressing my heart in the context of community with other brothers who get me.
Yeah.
And it's a tough journey, y'all. It's hard. Finding those guys that are trustworthy, it's hard.
Yeah.
But it's the greatest thing on the planet. When you can bear hug another guy and feel the stubble of their beard, on your face.
Right.
Man, that is sharing some vulnerability that is not practiced in our culture.
Right.
But it is a love that I think is deeper, like to the context of like David and Jonathan.
Yeah.
More than brothers from other sides of the tracks, but they were deeply committed to each other.
That's right.
And I think that's what we need in recovery.
Absolutely do. So
I'll stop
and here's the deal. You may have to be the first guy to do it, right? You may be beneficial. You may be lucky. You may be blessed in that you've had someone who did take that risk and was vulnerable with you.
Right.
And praise God if you did. And now
that's awesome.
It's pretty easy to identify, okay, that's a safe person for me. But the truth is you may not have that because we do live in such an isolated, environment that I may not have experienced that yet. And you may need to be the one who takes the risk, right? You may need to be the one who does that first, because when you do, it also gives them permission then to be honest with you and to share some of their brokenness with you. So I hope that you will. I hope you'll take up the challenge, because the truth is you can't stay in this broken, isolated, hiding world all forever, because one of two things will happen. Either, our good friend Bob would say this, either you choose to humble yourself, you choose the path of humility, or you will end up on the path of humiliation. Right?
Yeah.
And why does that happen? Because God loves us too much to leave us the way we are. See, he's not, oh, I'm going to punish you, right? All the punishment for our sin was laid on Jesus on the cross. But he allows us, if we won't choose the path of humility, if we refuse the path of humility, then we're choosing the path of humiliation, because it brings us to brokenness. It brings us to the end of ourselves, right? So what I'm asking you to consider this week is, if you haven't yet, you're still at that fork in the road. And there's the path of humility and there's the path of humiliation, right? You're standing at the fork in the road. I'm begging you to choose the path of humility and identify this week one person that you're going to share your story with. You're going to share something about your brokenness. You may not be able to share the whole thing, but something about what you've been struggling with, taking off the mask and being real. Identify that one person. And I want to push you. I don't want it to just be, oh, it's going to be Joe. And one day I'm going to talk to Joe.
One day.
Yep. And there's a reason why Doug and I are laughing, because we did that, right? Yeah, I'm going to talk to Joe one day. It's going to be soon. And then I see Joe and the words get stuck in my throat.
Yeah.
Okay, so not only identify, but set a time and day this week that you're going to talk to Joe or whoever it is, and ask God to give you the strength to choose that path of humility. If you want to examine more of what we've been talking about, we want to invite you to call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and find out more about the Everyman's Battle Intensive. Or you can go online and go to newlife.com/EMB, and you can read all about what we do at the intensive, find out one that might be close to you. We advertise the intensive regularly on the podcast because we believe in what happens at the intensive.
Absolutely.
It is a test case for community, and you get to see the power of community in the healing process.
Yes.
Maybe that's not even the right way to say it. You get to see how community is the healing process. And so we believe in the intensive. And so we talk about it a lot because we know that it's where God sets men free. So
absolutely
check that out. And if you're a listener of the podcast, you actually get a $50 discount on your registration fee. If you put in the code EMBPOD, EMBPOD, you'll get that discount. And then finally, I just want to remind everyone that if you want to reach out to us, if you've got questions, if you just want to share things that have had an impact on you, if there's a topic that you want us to cover in future episodes, send us an email to embpodcast@newlife.com. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for listening. Man, we hope that this has been beneficial to you. On next week's episode, we are going to tackle the topic, how do I measure recovery success? We hope you'll join us. Until then, thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. This podcast is just one of the many ways we can encourage and help you. If you're looking for more help, visit us at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Please remember to review, like, and share the podcast as it helps others find us. If you have a comment about this podcast, we'd love to hear from you. Drop us a line at embpodcast@newlife.com. See you next week.